everyone. It is June 24th. It is Tuesday, June 24th. We are the Her Hoop Stats podcast. And today we've got double trouble coming at you. It's me. It's Jamie Steyer Johnson alongside Chelsea Leite. And boy, oh boy, is there a whole lot going on, and also a lot going on in the basketball world. But
yeah. Just like personally and professionally right now.
Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna try and keep it to the professional part. But
yeah,
if you guys have listened to this podcast before, you know
how we get when Jamie and I start yapping. I mean, I will say today was supposed to be originally Tyler and I, as it sometimes is on Tuesdays, but Tyler is off celebrating the Oklahoma City Thunder. They just won a championship in the Men's Basketball Association. If you don't follow that,
if you partake
in men's basketball, which is Tyler's hometown team, of course. So, shouts to him, having his dreams come true and whatnot. So, of course, he couldn't record the podcast today because he was at a championship parade.
There's on X right now, there's like a bunch of overviews of the whole parade route, and so I'm just gonna pretend that I'm finding Tyler in it.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be hilarious if like our producer Brian extraordinaire, who's a genius, was able to just like find a clip of Tyler and just like insert it right here, and it's just like Tyler like like this small, like tiny.
I mean, that would be very easy to find from his social media later today, I'm sure. But Vivek, we're not putting that on you, buddy.
No,
you've already done your duty, because Chelsea today, his grandma was getting internet updated, and so he was talking with the workers there, and had plugged our show because they saw all the W stuff around the house, and they're like, yeah, we don't listen to a ton of W stuff. And he's like, well, Her Hoop Stats podcast, walked out the door, heard them listening to yesterday's episode of me and Sydney immediately.
Incredible.
So
I plug our podcast everywhere I go, just so we're aware. Like I'm at the club, and
this is real because Chelsea texted me from going out and said, I have just got us 2 new subscribers.
Let's go.
To all of you out there that have been drafted into the Her Hoop Stats listenership.
From me. I'm pretty sure the exact wording of the text was, Jamie, why am I at the club right now and getting more podcast subscribers than I am phone number?
I wasn't gonna put you on blast like that, but if you're
I'll put myself on blast. Put myself on blast. That was a moment I was having, texting Jamie at like midnight, and then she texted me the next day and was like, sorry I didn't reply to your message. I was also out, so that's our vibe.
Yeah, I will say before we get on track, since I said we were gonna be professional, but we're not. I do think that if anyone is interested in jumping on the production team for my pitch of Chelsea's dating show next year when the Tempos start competing, if we can find her a date associated with every W team when they come up to Toronto for the first time.
Like I will, it's just going to be a dating series where you can be a fan, you can be a whatever, and you come to Toronto, and I just like, we go get a beaver tail or we do whatever, and then we always end up at the Tempo game. Like I feel like it's just like, I don't know, that's kind of what we're
beaver tail.
Oh, that's what you're confused about? It's okay, so it's like a delicacy here. Yeah, it's kind of like, so imagine like you had a donut, but it was like very wide and long and thin. And then they put like cinnamon sugar on it or like other toppings. And it's just like a very delicious dessert. When you come up here, I'll bring you for one. But that was when we had the WNBA game here in Toronto. It was like everybody was like we got to try this. We got to try this. And Karina and I took our friend B. Terrell out for his first beaver tail near the harbor front, and got to experience him having a beaver tail for the first time. So yeah.
Did B approve?
He did, yeah.
Okay, then I trust it. If B approves, then I trust it.
Yeah, and Brian is saying that our dating show should be called Love in the Six, which is hilarious.
I love it. I knew that we had resources out there to help us.
Exactly.
Okay, incredible. So now that the important stuff is out of the way, for tonight, Tuesday, June 24th, we have 4 games on the schedule, and
we had 0 last night. By the way, we're not recapping anything.
And so then tonight, as per usual, there will be 3 in the same time slot because that is the way things work here.
Sure.
The Lynx game, Lynx at Mystics, very interesting for several reasons. One of which being the injury situation on both sides now, apparently, since Napheesa Collier is listed as questionable with a lower back injury, but as we well know, as anyone that follows the W pretty closely knows, the Mystics have Kareem Copeland out there that does really, really great throw coverage. So he was there today, said Fee did go through shoot around. However, Brittany Sykes is now listed as questionable and did not go through shoot around. So that will be certainly very impactful as far as kind of your veteran leadership. And with Brittany, I mean, she's been off to such a great start. She just has kind of that steadying force there for a super, super young Mystics team.
Yeah.
And with the Lynx, especially if you get even some minutes of Fee, you also have Jessica Shepard back, which I am so excited about.
That's good, especially with Fee possibly not playing. We were talking about this before we started recording. It was kind of like we have a feeling she'll be available. How much she plays again, especially against Washington, especially how much whatever lead they end up getting in the second half or whatever, she might not play a full, game that she's used to playing, but we both have the idea that she would at least just get out there for a bit and see how she feels and see how, things are doing, especially ahead of the Atlanta game, which is a game that they're going to want to be full strength at. So, but to have Jessica Shepard back to, not have as much pressure on Fee in the front court, you can put her out there with Alana Smith or instead of Alana Smith to take off a little bit of that pressure as well from their front court. And so it's just obviously you want Jessica Shepard to be there and available for the team. And so the fact that she's back from Eurobasket now is, only good things.
Yeah, because having her back, plus the fact that Maria Kliundikova played significant minutes when Fee was out, and so she was not a hardship contract. She was someone they signed as a result of waiving Maria Badian. So that's not someone that's going to be lost now that Jess is back. So you definitely have it a lot more shored up there in the front court, where yes, you have Fee hopefully getting back to full strength, but then you have Jess back, who, she's been away from the team, but it's not
still playing.
She's been out hurt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's been playing, so she is hopefully ready to just kind of step right back into things. And then you have Maria, who has started to really get things figured out within the Lynx system. I think that she fits beautifully within what they do. If you're big and you're stepping out to hit threes and you're defending, what more do the Lynx really want? Not a whole lot. That's kind of the prototype. So definitely getting things figured out a little bit there. But then
I was just gonna say the stud buds are gonna be out and ready to go.
Absolutely ready to go. Always. I
had to educate. I don't know if you listened last week to me and Richard's podcast, but I had to educate him on what the stud buds were. I almost said the spud buds. Potato sponsorship incoming.
I was gonna say that's gonna be their potato chips. Get the bag.
Get the bag of spud buds. And please give me a cut because I came up with this. But anyway, Courtney Williams and Natisha Heideman have been great in Napheesa's absence, and are just those two solid guards. They can play together again. They can play, in replacement of each other in the lineup. And then you add on obviously Bridget's defense. You add on Kayla McBride's shooting, and this team looks so good even without their MVP front running player. And I think what we're seeing from them is how they have the edge a little bit, maybe over a team like New York, who is missing Jonquel Jones right now, their MVP player. And, while New York has kind of struggled with that, I was about to say Phoenix. My head scrambled this week, y'all. Minnesota is able to kind of bridge these gaps a little bit more because they have such depth and such like a well-balanced team, and all of their players are such good two-way players. So, I mean, that helps.
Yeah, it's something that wasn't maybe quite there to start the season, but as everyone has kind of found their footing and getting Jess back and getting, adding Maria to the mix has done a lot there. And so this Washington team has certainly been really interesting. They have that youth. Shakira Austin has been getting things going once again, which is really exciting. And so the type of play that we've seen defensively from Minnesota generally is, I think, pretty well geared to preventing players like Shakira that are pretty versatile. She's going to be facing up. She wants to go both back to the basket and face up. So I'll be really interested to see who gets going for Washington. But Minnesota, I think, is pretty well set up where even if they're limiting Fee's minutes somewhat, they're in a pretty good position in this game and just in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just in general, they're 12-1 right now, clearly kind of separating themselves as the top team in the league. New York has kind of slid with 2 more losses after their initial first loss. So, I mean, slid is kind of a weird term given that they're still very much a championship contending team in New York, but Minnesota has kind of gotten that 2-game advantage now, which when it comes to the end where we're going to be literally like in margins here for playoff positioning is really, really great of them. So, and I mean, especially given that some of those wins in the past week have been without Nafisa. So they look great right now.
They do. And there's another matchup in that slate of some teams that are hoping to be getting their feet under them a little bit more, which is the Sparks and Sky.
Yeah. I do my weekly power rankings for Fansided, right? And so I was, ranking all the teams, whatever. And the Sparks, the only thing I could think of with the Sparks is that and I don't want to say any team is forgettable, but I was looking, so her Hoop Stats has team pages where they rank every team in the league. So it's like, are you 4th out of 13 in this stat or this stat, right? And the Sparks were top 3 in a few, bottom 3 in a few, but for the most part, we're just so in the middle on everything. And I'm like, okay, we're at a point where this team isn't good enough to be in the playoff position, isn't bad enough to be in the are they going to get the number 1 pick conversation. And it's just such an awkward place to be in a 13 team league where you're in that 9th, 10th spot because you're not really contending for a playoff spot, but you're also not in that bottom kind of range. And it's just and I know there's a lot going on in terms of waiting for Cam Brink to be back and all of that stuff, but yeah, it just is the vibes are interesting in LA.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot of vibes. It's just like you said, it's not been super cohesive. It's not been consistent. And again, we keep talking about all these teams that have players that are out, whether it be for Eurobasket or injury or whatever.
AmeriCup now coming up.
Yeah, AmeriCup coming up. You've got Odyssey Sims has been away from the team for personal reasons. Rakia Jackson missed multiple games due to her concussion protocol. Julie Alamon's been gone for Eurobasket. It's just been all over the place, frankly. And so you have Sarah Ashley Barker, who's had some really solid stretches. You have Leah Tu King, who came in on a hardship deal that has been really solid as well. And then you've got Kelsey Plum and Dearica Hamby, who are big producers. Yeah. But it just hasn't been enough, which is not on them, but
it definitely sucks because Kelsey Plum is having one of her best seasons when it comes to statistics. She's definitely having an all-star, she should be considered and voted into all-star. But it's hard when your team isn't competing to get that recognition. It's something that, I mean, I see in Toronto all the time with the Raptors is because the media isn't really paying attention to you as much, you can do so much and still not get the attention that you deserve based on your individual personal play, which I think is something that's happening to Kelsey Plum right now. But I mean, the point of her moving there was to kind of progress the rebuild in a way. And so, I mean, I think they're doing that. It's just I look at their schedule, and they've been on the bad side of a lot of these, like, close, like, 10-ish point games, which isn't gonna help as well because, then you end up with a record of 4-10, a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. These are the kind of matchups that are really important for teams that are not even really middling. They are kind of in
Mhm.
the bottom of the league. And so you're going up against another team that has a similar record, that has had pretty similar results this year. And so it'll be really interesting just to see where the Sparks and Sky fall tonight. Having it be in Chicago certainly
Mhm.
helps them.
Yeah. But
But
then you have Chicago on the other end, which, like, could very well get the win tonight
mhm.
given, the struggles that the Sparks have somewhat been going through, but then you have the Chicago team that's just, like, I don't know, I feel like they're just, like, trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and it's not sticking. But it's like and I mean, injury is something that you can't really control, which is such a big story in sports right now. But you brought in Courtney Vandersloot to kind of be the veteran guard of this team. She goes out with injury. You bring in these veteran shooters and Beck Allen and Kia Nurse, et cetera, et cetera. That's not going the way that you had intended. You hope that, Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso are going to have a little bit of, an increase from their season one stats. That's not happening. Not saying that that's their fault particularly. I don't want to, give that narrative because I read a piece about their GM like a couple of weeks ago, and that was very much the vibe was like the blame game. Not doing that, but then you have the fact that Camila Cardoso is about to leave for AmeriCup. Like she
Mhm.
is going to play in AmeriCup, which is interesting because like as someone like you're obviously with the Team USA, you have that knowledge. I have the Team Canada knowledge, and like WNBA players don't generally come for something like an AmeriCup, but like this year, I'm like, I think about obviously not Bridget, but like I think about Kia Nurse, I think about Aaliyah Edwards in particular. Leticia is kind of doing her thing in Golden State, so I wouldn't count her in this right now. But like, yeah, I feel like if there was any opportunity for some of these Canadians to go play in AmeriCup, it would be now, and Camila Cardoso is kind of the example of that. But she's about to leave, and so you
Mhm.
have like one of your best producing players, a starter, huge part of your front court, about to leave for possibly like 2 weeks. I mean, Brazil has a really good chance to make it really far in this contest. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for them, and I mean, I don't blame Camilla for wanting to go to Brazil. It's a great opportunity for her. And that team, is building quite a lot of chemistry these days. So having her, for a big tournament like this is important. But yeah, it's just like they can't seem to find any sort of offensive flow. I believe they're last in the league right now in total points, in opponent points per game, in, all of these offensive statistical categories. And, you know, it just is hard to build rhythm when you can't score, when you are allowing the most points in the league as well. So, yeah, it's just this one's going to be interesting given that both of these teams are kind of hanging at the bottom for different reasons.
Yeah, it's that's about all there is to say on it. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
gonna be, I think, tough in some ways. It'll be fun in some ways for some of the players that
Mhm.
are able to really show up. But I, to your point on Camila Cardoso heading to AmeriCup soon, there's another team that is losing a player to AmeriCup, which is the Fever, with Demir
Mhm.
Stantis leaving,
Yep.
and so that'll be a pretty big blow as well, just to their depth on the interior with their size.
Yeah. Both
They've
to
got,
Brazil too.
yeah, yeah, and so that'll be obviously a big boost for Brazil. But
Yeah.
I'm interested in what the Fever can get done before Demir's leaves, and
Mhm.
then they're going to be back in a spot where they're having to kind of figure out some of those depth issues
Yeah,
with
because
her gone.
they don't have her right now. Dewana Bonner has been out for
Hmm.
the past little while due to personal reasons. And so yeah, like they're definitely probably going to be signing someone, and you would hope that it's someone in the front court position, given that you're kind of losing two of those, taller, lengthier players. So yeah, but before we talk about the Fever, the next game on the slate tonight is Atlanta Dream versus Dallas, which is probably the one I'm most hyped for tonight. I mean, Indiana and Seattle too, yeah. probably those two are the top ones. But yeah, so we have Atlanta and Dallas. I mean, Atlanta is 10-4 and Dallas is 3-12, but like I've actually really been enjoying watching Dallas the past week. And maybe it's just because I'm like a Paige Beckers homer, but like
it's a welcome change to be a little bit more watchable and less just like completely infuriating. Like it's
there.
It's
better. It. It's better.
It's a lot better.
And I mean, you couldn't get any worse.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's gotten better.
But I mean, seeing Arike get going in a game, having some of that like connection develop, just getting anyone else doing anything is great. It'll be nice for them to eventually get some of that interior depth back once they do have Louisa Geisel-Soter and Tierra McCowan back. But in the meantime, I think that you've got a solid piece in Leroux. Like obviously she's very excited to be there. I think that's very sweet and very wholesome, and I love that. But they're starting to lean a little bit more into the youth. Like they've got Isaiah James starting now.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Maddie Siegrist has been out, and so I think that's a big part of that as well. But I don't know. They're figuring out some of their identity, but it just is not like completely clicked yet, and it may not fully click. Like all this the pieces season, just may not be there.
Exactly. And I mean, they need to work on things like their shot selection, of course, and like it's interesting because they're players you think about. Like Arike is a high volume shooter, which we know. And like, I mean, Caitlin Clark is the same style of player. They're going to put up a lot of shots, and they're going to make a lot, but they're also going to miss a lot because they're putting up so many shots. Then you have Paige, who's kind of this like Swiss Army knife of all of these different things. Sometimes she's going to give you a lot of scoring, a lot, sometimes it's just kind of a different thing. And when she puts it all together, she ends up having these extremely incredible stat lines. But finding the balance between what Paige is doing every night and like also getting Arike the touches she needs to get going. Also, there's players that are making these shot selection moments when you should be giving the ball to someone like Arike or Paige or, Azai out there or, go into Leroux in the post. So like, I think that they're all just not like the roles are starting to come together a little bit more as you watch, but I don't think individually everybody has like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do when I'm on the court. This is exactly what the game plan is every night. And we just have to go out there and execute. I think that that's still coming along. But I mean, once you kind of start making those decisions, it'll look a little bit better. And I mean, if you can get going, they have the pieces that they need to score a lot of points, defend really well. I mean, Dejanay Carrington is out there and she's a great defender. You have Paige Beckers who can make a lot of steals. So, I mean, like I said, like it's getting better. It's not there yet, but it's definitely it's exciting to watch the process, I think.
And I'm going to give a complete aside, which is how jarring it is to be looking at this and thinking, yeah, they're a pretty young team. And to realize going down the roster that I'm literally older than the entire team.
Oh, yeah. We're the same age, Jamie. You're calling both of us old right now.
Well, I'm saying we're older than the entire Dallas Wings team, which is not old, I would say, but that's wild.
It is wild, yeah.
To see that and to think, yeah, they're pretty young, but like they're not the youngest team in the league, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
remember being 23. That was wild.
No.
Oh man, like see that's the thing that gets me when we have these conversations about some of these young players in any sport. Like you talk about Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, these like 22, 23-year-olds. I'm like, if you wanted me to act like an adult at 23 years old, like I get that technically I was an adult, but my brain was not developed yet.
Well, that's like people talk about Kat Westfeld coming in as a 29-year-old rookie, and it's like, oh my gosh, should you come in? And like I've said it too, like it's really cool the way she's come in and produced, but like I think that I would be in a better position to like make an impact on an organization today at my age of 29 than I would have at the age of 22. Like, and plus women mature later. So it's just like, it's actually almost weird that like this hasn't been more common to be able to find people down the road when they continue to play overseas and stuff, where they make this huge deal of, oh, these older rookies coming from overseas, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, they're like, their frontal lobe is developed. Like
exactly.
They're
I don't know about you, but like I felt when that happened, I was like, oh, things make sense now.
I woke up one day and I was like, it's done.
Wow,
we're fully baked.
Yeah. It's time to start doing things now. Okay.
I didn't like that part.
No. Sometimes I'm like, oh wow, to have that mindset again. So just like no cares in the world. But anyway, yeah, I think that's like such a interesting conversation to have with these teams that are so young, is like why are we putting them at these high standards at that age, when you look at a regular 22-year-old out on the street, you're not going to be like, you need to be the most, like the best at your career, you need to peak now, you need to do all these things. Like, it's such a weird standard to have about these players at this age.
Yeah, it's something that like I kind of rail against pretty often because I'm around a lot of college athletes, and I think that people just don't have a good grasp on like the fact that these are humans, and also that they are young humans,
kids.
And so you see, because then like, okay, if we move on past this to the other game tonight, which is Indiana playing at the Storm, like that's a couple of teams that have a pretty good amount of experience and a pretty good amount of veteran leadership. Like,
even Atlanta too, like their team is a little skewed older as well. When you think about the fact that they have Alicia Gray, they have Brittany Griner leading them, Bree Jones, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah.
And so then it's a lot easier, I think, to talk about, okay, these are people that are maybe in different roles or in different like groups of people, but they're not adjusting as much like to the league itself or mentally in that way, like a team similar to Dallas, where like there's just so much going on. Like there's this really low level of familiarity with just the league as a whole when you don't have anyone who's been there longer than what, like 6 years, it's kind of crazy. Like it's
like you have tough. Like you have Enrique, who's been there obviously for a while, but then I mean, we see Maddie Segrest as this like, oh, she's been in Dallas for a long time. She only got drafted like 3 years ago. Like this is her third season, which means she was drafted 2 years ago. So like you think about that kind of stuff, and like Tierra McCowan hasn't been there as long as, and it's like these people that on the surface we're like, yeah, they've been in Dallas for a while. But think about like, I was thinking about this the other day because Dallas had the first pick in the draft literally a few years ago in 2021. Because I was trying to think like, oh, like it's so great when teams have a number one pick, like, it changes their franchise. And then I was like, wait a minute. They literally had the 1 and 2 picks in 2021. Not that neither of these players are on this roster right now. Awak Queer is suspended and they still retain the rights, but their number one pick from that year, Charlie Collier, not in the league.
Yeah, that's so I could have a conversation about some of the Wings decision making in that regard over the years.
New front office, new Kurt Miller
would be a difference
there now. But anyway, let's talk about the Fever Storm game, because again, like I said, that one is one that I'm excited to watch. Obviously, it's two teams that when you look at their record, obviously Seattle has a better record. They're higher in the standings. Indiana has been, I want to choose my words carefully, given how I talk about, not how I talk about this team, but how people react when you talk about this team. They've been interesting. It's been, I think they're having growing pains might be the right word for it. Like they obviously changed their roster to complement Caitlin Clark. You have Caitlin Clark, who's going through her second season, which the sophomore slump is a very widely known thing to happen. Doesn't happen to everyone, but a thing that can happen. And I'm not saying, I mean, she's in a slump. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. She's in a slump right now. She shot 10% from 3 last game. She still scored. I mean, she scored, I think, 19 or 20 points in their loss against Las Vegas, which is not a bad game by any means. But again, she's a high volume shooter. She's going to shoot a lot. Sometimes she misses a lot. So I think the difference, if we're talking about depth, like teams like, Minnesota, New York, whatever, is that like Caitlin Clark is a top, whatever you want to say, player in the league, very high level top player in the league. And then when she's out or when she's not performing well, sometimes there's just not enough depth to come in and help her. I mean, Aaliyah Boston played great against Vegas, especially against Asia Wilson, which is very hard to do. You have Natasha Howard, who, continues to play great, but it's not like enough against these big teams that have, I mean, Las Vegas has Asia Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young doing great. Jewel Lloyd, I think, scored like 10 points in that game. So, like, the depth issue is interesting in Indiana, given you have this very, very top, player who usually takes on a lot of the offensive burden, but when very normally and very, it's to be expected that she's a human being and she's not going to score 100% from the field every single night, and you can't expect that from her. But to not have the backup to be able to come and make up at least some of those points is what's getting them currently as she struggles this week. So,
well, and like what I've talked about some in like a different respect is players that shoot extremely well from the floor, especially in single games. Like for Aaliyah Boston against Golden State, went 7 for 11 from the floor. And when I was talking about that game with Cindy, what I said is, what do you take away from that? Well, she should have shot more. Like you have players that are playing well, that are making shots. And let's be honest, like defensive schemes are going to key in highly on Caitlin. And so if that's going to be the case, whatever the reasoning for, struggling for missing shots, things like that, that's fine. It's a reason, it's a team game. But then there needs to be a renewed focus on ball movement, getting other people looks. And when you have, again, Aaliyah Boston having the kind of games that she has where she goes 7 for 11 against Golden State and goes 12 for 19 against Vegas, like that, maybe you got her about as many shots as you could, but you have to figure out how to maybe get the ball into her hands. Like I said yesterday, she's not a black hole. Natasha Howard's not a black hole. Like they will put the ball back out to the guards. But when you have a 2-game stretch, like you can't just stop shooting if you're Caitlin Clark, because that's not the way that it works. That's not the way that her game works. But when you're 1 of 17 from 3 over 2 games, maybe you need to figure out a way to get inside more. Maybe you need to figure out a way to have more of that, give and go. Just find a different look. And I think that's where, again, some of the inconsistency as far as Steph White being gone here and there, and then having players that are out, stuff like that. Like it's tough. And again, we're having to throw all these like caveats and whatever, because people are really quick to say that, oh my gosh, you're hating. How dare you? I'll flat out say it. Like I'm not interested in being told that I'm calling out one particular team when I talk about all teams in the league this way when they do the same thing. So like if you want someone to just talk about only the great things that your team does, like this frankly isn't the show for you. Like have fun finding one. It's not me. I'm not that person. But they can do a lot better. That's the thing, is that we've seen them play better. We've seen them have better results. And so it's about figuring out how they can get back to that. And I'm really interested to see how they can attempt to do that against a Storm team that has been so strong defensively. Good. Where, I mean, Gabby Williams is, to my eye, one of the front runners for Defensive Player of the Year this year. She's leading league in steals. She's just
most improved too.
Yeah, I mean, she can guard nearly anyone on the floor. Like she's mostly not going to guard like a true center, but if she gets switched on one, she's going to work real hard. She's going to make it hard to get the ball in there. And you've got Azzy Magmagor like defending the rim. You've got Skylar on the perimeter. You've got Nneka wherever Nneka needs to be. Like you have such great defense. And so they have good offense as well, but especially for a Fever team that has had some offensive struggles, which is the more uncharacteristic thing, where they've had some defensive struggles. We've seen that before, but the offense is a little bit new. And so I'll be interested to see kind of what their priority is, and as a result, what Seattle's priority is in preventing, because there's always going to be options. So I just want to see what they're able to pick.
Exactly. And I mean, I think it's important to note that Seattle is the only team in the league who has beat both Minnesota and New York. Like, that's a really big accomplishment to have. And so I think I wouldn't say people are sleeping on Seattle, because we are having active conversations about how good they've been. I think people are sleeping on Gabby Williams as an all-star prospect, because I've seen way too many, and I'm going to just come out and say it. I don't have a vote, so don't be coming here to, tell me who I should be voting for. I do not have a media vote, but I've been seeing way too many ballots out here without Gabby Williams on it. And I'm like, that she is leading like career best in so many different stats. She's constantly like reaching those every week, but she's also like then leading the team as well. And I think the thing that Seattle has been missing since like the Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart era is like a very cohesive like set of like depth in their front, like in their starting lineup. And I think now with Skylar Diggins playing as well as she's playing, Nneka Ogwumike doing everything she needs to do, Erica Wheeler, we could talk all day about Erica Wheeler and like the 180 she's done.
Where did that come from?
Like it just kind of shows that like once you get into an environment that suits you as a person and a player and a whatever, like in a system that suits your game, I mean, the possibilities are endless. But my point is like their entire core is just working so well right now. It's the same thing as Minnesota, where like everybody knows their role, they're doing it, they're working well together, they seem to enjoy playing together, and it's showing these results, and they're beating these top teams in the league. And I mean, they're a dangerous team to think about when you think about a first round playoff spot, when you think about a semifinal playoff series. They're tough, they're gritty, they have a lot of passion, they let the emotion of the game, push them forward in a good way. Players like Gabby Williams and Skylar Diggins and Erica Wheeler, et cetera, have always been those very like passionate players, which helped quite a lot. And I mean, think about Gabby Williams, she's an Olympic silver medalist. She almost sent Team USA home with packing with the silver last year in Paris. So I mean, you can't really just like at this point downgrade what they've done so quickly to be able to rebuild their team after Sue Bird only left in 2022, and Stewie as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially Seattle has so much to play for right now because of the fact that they're like at this particular second, the one on the outside looking in on the top 4 spots, as well as when you look at kind of the overall landscape, the overall records, like they very much are team 5 in a race for 4 top spots in the postseason. And so, you have Minnesota that has extended their lead a little bit there, being 12-1 with New York behind them at 10-3. But beyond that, you've got Mercury at 11-4, the Dream at 10-4, and then Seattle at 9-5. Like it's single close. Game is really, really important. And so it's going to be very interesting just to see what they're able to put together. We talk about consistency so much, especially over a 44-game season. And for them to have that depth, to have veterans who, again, have been there before. We talk about the age of teams. They've been through this kind of thing before. I think that they're a team that's really well poised to have kind of a tear here at some point, especially when you have people pretty healthy, when you didn't really lose people for Eurobasket, stuff like that. They've been 6-4 over their last 10 games. I wouldn't be surprised if the record over their next 10 is even better than that.
Yeah, and I mean, think about the fact that Gabby Williams made the conscious decision to stay this period.
She could Dominique Malonga as well.
And Dominique Malonga as well, to stay during this period when they could have gone and played for France. They decided not to. And how well Seattle has done in this stretch, building chemistry, figuring out their roles. And I mean, it's way too early to look at playoff positioning now, but like for the exercise of it all, imagine now we go into the playoffs and we get a first round series of Atlanta versus Seattle. Like, that's incredible. Like that's hard to to predict and hard. Like, it would be a really great 3-game series. So, I mean, and even like Seattle Phoenix would be a great battle because they've gone back and forth a few times this season.
And it's too early to predict, but like it's not too early to discuss because as you say, like especially that 3 through 5 spot, right, has been so up in the air for the entirety of the season so far. And so that's why, you know that these players are fully aware that every single game is going to impact things because this is more than likely going to be a tough race to the very end.
I mean, yeah. And then you think of just below that, Golden State, sure, like contend for a spot, go for it. They've been one of the most fun. And I think, everybody was like, expansion this, expansion that. And I'm like, we haven't had an expansion team in over a decade. Why are we saying this and that about expansion teams in a 150, whatever it is, 55, 56 player league where you are literally every player is like the best player in their respective country, in the world, whatever. So it's so fun to see Golden State. And then you have Vegas, who is right below them, that has every, like, on paper could shoot up into that 3 to 5 conversation if they go on a really hot run and another team kind of goes into a slip. And then right below them in the 8th spot is Indiana, who again, like, has the potential on paper to be up there as well. So like it's already getting wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and we haven't even seen every team play each other yet.
Exactly.
For a hot second. Thank you, New York and Minnesota.
And then I was upset. Not that, like, the Indiana will give a great Commissioner's Cup game. I'm not saying that that's like not, but like I was like, oh, maybe we'll have like a New York Minnesota preview. No, we're not getting that. We are getting a potential first or second round matchup when it comes to Indiana and Minnesota, but still.
I was hoping to not have to wait like a month to see that game.
Exactly. It's just like, I suppose we will. And then we're going to see like 7 of them in whatever. Right in a row. Get us all ready for what is predicted right now to be the WNBA finals. But we said there was a lot going on at the beginning.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on.
The episode isn't as long as we think it is looking at our recording time because we started recording before we started.
Yeah,
recording.
We had like 15 minutes of random footage of me just like crying. Not crying actually, but like kind of. Friends, when you are out here covering 2 leagues and there's a draft going on in one of them and your team is picking in the lottery and it's a whole thing, it's a lot.
That thing that everyone can relate to? No.
Yeah. Yeah, that right. thing. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. What a time.
All right. We did it.
We did it, Joe.
We did a whole lot. We did the most, some might say. So, yeah. There it is. Everything you could have ever wanted, and so much more. Way more than anyone anticipated opening this. But we'll just, that's it. That's all, folks. Insert your little, yep, exactly. So I'm Jamie Steyer Johnson. Find me online at JStyes. She's Chelsea Leite. Find her online at Chelsea Leite. Or don't. You're probably sick of us. I know I am.
We're going to get so many comments
later.